Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Saturday, July 20th. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We picked up a loss with the Phillies' first five team total over 2.5. Unfortunately, the Phillies had the bases loaded with one out in the first inning, scored no runs, then were shut out for the next three innings, and then they ended up hitting a solo home run in the fifth before the Phillies ended up scoring 6 runs in the total game. It's very upsetting. It's kind of annoying anytime you take a first five team total or vice versa, and then the full game wins and the first five loses, or if you take the full game instead of the first five and the first five wins and the full game loses. It's a shame. It's a pain when it happens, but it happens, and we will deal with that as we look to get back to our winning ways here on Saturday. I know that there are some UFC fights, and I will give out some leans on those. But in terms of the play today, we're actually going to be sticking with the first five team totals. And I see one here at 7 o'clock that possesses a ton of value on 5 dimes, and that will be what we're giving out for the play of the day. And it will be on a matchup between the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. And you have a pitching match between Gerardo and Urquidy. And we like the Texas Rangers first five over 2.5, which is available at plus 130 at 5 dimes. Overall, this line makes absolutely no sense in terms of the team total. And the Rangers were actually plus 135 here, but that total has been bet down to plus 130 in the last 5 minutes. So I expect that line to continue dropping moving forward. Since we're not actually focusing on the game itself, since the Rangers are also in the middle of a losing streak and Houston's looked good lately. However, since we're focusing on the team total aspect, we're only going to be talking about the Astros pitcher in Jose Urquidy. He was actually just called up yesterday for a spot start today. And in his 2 MLB appearances in his career and the season as well, he has gone 6 total innings and has given up 7 earned runs. His last start came against the Angels in early July, where he went 2 1/3 and gave up 5 runs at home. In the start before that, he went 3 2/3 and gave up 2 runs at Colorado. Simply put, not a good pitcher at all. And I understand the idea of the fact that the Astros are big favorites in this game because the Rangers have been playing terribly lately, and I understand that. But it doesn't change the fact, though, that the Rangers are 9th in the league in first 5 innings runs per game on the road, as they're averaging 2.78 runs in the first 5 innings on the road. And the fact that Houston is starting a pitcher just out of the minors who has had terrible numbers so far in his very young MLB career, I think the fact that this is at plus 130 is just honestly offensive. And I think that this line should realistically be around, I'd say even plus 110, plus 105, something along those lines. I know Texas's offense has been struggling a little bit lately, but the idea of having a guy with a 10.5 ERA and the team total of the team facing him is plus 130 at 2.5, that doesn't make any sense. So the play of the day for value alone will be on the Texas Rangers first 5 team total, which is available for over 2.5 at plus 130 on 5 dimes, and that will be the play of the day. Now, in terms of some other leans on today's card, I know that some money's come in on the over in the Giants and Mets game, which is taking place at 4:05, as the total's been bet up from 8.5 to 9 with Samardzija versus Lockett on the mound. In terms of this game, though, I have to lean once again to no score first inning, as well as to the full game under. I know the wind's blowing out. I know both pitchers. Samardzija's had terrible numbers against the Mets, and Lockett hasn't been great in his young MLB career. But both these teams simply cannot hit the ball in this series, as you've seen the first 2 games of this series go to extra innings, as both teams have been unable to generate any runs whatsoever. And I simply just do not trust either offense at this point in time. The Mets will continue to find ways to choke games late, but at the same point, doesn't change the fact that they simply can't hit. And Alonso has been terrible since the All-Star break, as he's only had 3 hits and 26 at-bats. So if he's struggling, I don't see the Mets scoring many runs, and I'll lean to the under in that game, as well as the no-score first inning in that game, which should be around roughly minus 120, maybe minus 115. I definitely like that prop. Moving on towards the rest of the baseball card, I would lean to the Diamondbacks here. I know Gio Gonzalez has been decent this season. McGrankey's been fantastic, especially at home, and a minus 137, give or take. I know the Brewers won yesterday, but I'd have to lean to Greinke, as he has been fantastic. I'll lean to the Diamondbacks in the first 5, though, because I do think the Brewers have a slightly better bullpen than the Diamondbacks, and I don't want to see Hader come in late and shut it down. So I'd lean to the Diamondbacks in the first 5 on that one. Other than that, not that many leans on baseball, but in terms of UFC, I'll give out some leans on that as you have UFC on ESPN4, which is tonight. In terms of some of the leans I have one lean on Greg Hardy beating Juan Adams by knockout, which is available at plus 115 at 5 dimes. Simply put, if this goes to a decision, Adams will win. I don't think this is getting out of the first round. Both fighters are relative knockout artists, and Hardy has won a loss in the UFC due to an illegal knee, so he hasn't even been knocked out or anything. He was actually winning that fight. Adams, on the other end, did not look impressive at all in his last fight as he lost by decision. Both these fighters are huge in the sense that they're 6'5", 265, and I simply think that Hardy possesses a little bit more knockout power, and I think that Hardy will be able to get the job done in knockout fashion in this one. Other than that, lean to the Olynyk and Harris under in that one in terms of the rounds that it's supposed to go. Simply put, this fight is going to end one of two ways. Either Harris is going to put Olynyk in a coffin, or Olynyk's going to submit him and choke him out on the ground. I don't think this fight's going to a decision. I don't think this fight is going to get out of the second round. I simply think that this fight is about two fighters with completely contrasting styles, and I think that either Olynyk is going to get his head taken off or Harris is going to be put to sleep, and I think there will be nothing else that's going to be going on. So I will lean to the under in that one, as I think that fight will end relatively quickly. So lean to the under 1.5 rounds there. Other than that, in terms of the actual card, not really a big fan of any of the other fights. I do like Smiling Sam Alvey as a fighter. I don't think it's a good matchup with him against Abreu. And in terms of Dos Anjos versus Edwards, I really have no interest. I know a lot of projections have assumed it will go to a decision, but I'm personally going to pass on that. In terms of that, I'll also lean to James Vick here. A lot of money coming in on Vick against Hooker. He's gone from plus 155 to roughly plus 120. I've liked Vick for a while. I think Hooker is a good fighter with knockout potential, but Vick has a large reach advantage, and I think he will be able to win in a decision. So if you want some extra juice on that, take Vick to win by decision, and you should get yourself a nice plus price there. But in terms of the play of the day, we're going to be sticking with the Rangers first 5 team total over 2.5, which is available at plus 130 on 5 dimes for the play of the day. Now, before we conclude today's video, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, online sportsbook in New Jersey. Great deal for you, up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. So if you end up betting on the UFC, WNBA, Canadian football, and honestly anything, you simply get your money back if you lose and don't have to worry about making up any of the money that you lost. So that's definitely a great promo I wish more sportsbooks would use. Other than that, though, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here for Saturday, July 20th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.